So for me, before I met Demandii, the challenge that I was running into is that I didn't have the time, number one, to record the content. I didn't have time to post the content. And so when you don't have the time, when you don't, when you feel like it's too overwhelming or too overburdensome, you just don't do anything. Instead of, trying to do one post a week, you just don't do any post. And so for me, creating this leverage tool, I look at it as a tool where you can show up for an hour, they record everything, they put everything together, they post everything, was a huge time saver. And in my industry, even an hour of savings is far greater in terms of revenue than the cost of the program. So to me, it was a no-brainer when I looked at it from the amount of money I was saving from not doing it and the amount of money I was making from them doing it. It just made perfect sense to hire them to make this happen. When I was looking to hire, I think one of the biggest concerns is, will it work? Most people ask, will it work? And it's funny because that question is really not an easy question to answer, because will it work depends on what the expectation is. And so if the expectation is that you're going to receive thousands and thousands of leads for your business and you're going to get rich quick, well, then maybe the answer is not, it's not going to work. If your expectation is that you're going to have consistent content out on the platforms, which is the key to really developing a brand online today, then it's going to work. So it just really depends on what your expectation. I think having the proper expectation is critical. And so for me, I was wondering, will it work? And when I went through the process, and they explained exactly what they did and what the end result would be, could be, I knew for a fact that it was going to work. So the first experience that I had with Demandii, that I realized it was going to be an awesome program. It was the moment that they walked me through something unrelated to capturing content, which was how to become a better coach. And so in my industry, I'm a coach of law firms around the country. And when I had that first session and they gave me value that was unrelated to the service, I knew in that moment that they had my best interest in mind, and that this was more of a relationship and not a transaction. And I think when I hire vendors, and I've hired many vendors over the years, I'm looking for vendors that want relationship, not transaction, because those relationships mean that they're going to have my best interest in mind for the long term and not just for the short term gain. So the biggest opportunity that came from this process, and now I've been doing this, I think, almost 2 years, is the visibility. When it created visibility for me and my brand, it opened up speaking engagements. It opened up hiring or getting new clients. It opened up a webinar. I had 184 people sign up for a webinar. It opened up connections, and I believe it, even though it's hard to quantify, because many times your leads don't come directly from a particular channel, but rather they look you up on Google. But I believe that it has been instrumental in getting out my name, my brand, and my authority out into the marketplace. And I think those three things were critical for me scaling my business from essentially zero to 10 million in about 3.5 years.